So another year's passed and you still look mid. You've been training hard, you've been eating clean, hell, even at times you've been tracking your lifts in the gym, but somehow your physique isn't where you know deep down it should be and could be. Now in this video, I'm going to flesh out the exact reasons as to why you're in this situation, because I see it time and time again in the guys that I coach, and I know full well the frustration that it brings. So let's break it down. So the first reason is because you've not attacked the year with a roadmap. Now a roadmap is essentially a plan. In this instance, a plan that outlines the phases that you need to roll through in order to get to the physique goal that you're obviously after. Now why this is so key for this process is because you don't just go from out of shape to lean and muscular. You have to roll through different phases to get there. And without doing this, you're essentially rolling through the process with a lack of structure and subsequently winging it. And if you want to build an awesome rig, that just cannot be done. So for example, let's say you came into 2025 at 18% body fat. If this was the case, the first phase you should have gone into was a dieting phase. You should have tidied up, descended down to around about 8 to 10% body fat, got super lean, so then you could then navigate a push phase, which was to come next. Roll into the push phase, accumulate new muscle tissue to obviously build upon your current development, and then after this phase, head into a mini diet. Tidy up body composition, having added inevitably a little bit of body fat in the push phase that you've just done. After the mini diet, roll into a second push phase to evidently stack new muscle upon what you'd already built in that first push phase. Then roll into a set point to embed the new muscle that you've just built in the two push phases, and then roll into a formal diet to reveal the muscle that you've built in those two push phases. If you'd have navigated 2025 just like that, you'd be dipping into that formal diet phase right now and revealing anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds of new muscle tissue if you'd of course accurately navigated each of the phases involved. So not having executed this year with a roadmap has cost you because of the lack of structure that not having the roadmap in place brings about. Now the second reason as to why you're in this mid-level physique position is because of your training. Okay, training programming has not been accurate enough relative to you, your postural needs and also your development needs. You've probably followed a generic split just because so-and-so online has with success, and you've been led to believe that that split is therefore going to work for you too. But unfortunately, 9 out of 10 times, this just does not end well for most guys. And the reason why is because without accurate programming tailored to you, you're not going to build an awesome rig, because a key component of an awesome rig is having muscular balance from head to toe. And you're never going to achieve that by following a generic split. You need to have a split that's completely tailored to, like I said, your own postural and development needs. Now to drill into training just a little bit more, not only has the training split itself lacked accuracy in terms of the way in which it's been devised, but when you've been in the gym, you've probably lacked the sufficient amount of intensity that you've needed to train at in order to drive the adaptation that you're chasing. As well as intensity, you've probably not trained precise enough. The accuracy in which you've lifted has probably not been up to scratch again to drive that adaptation. And then finally, there's probably been a lack of progressive overload throughout your training split. Some lifts you may have got a little bit stronger, but not all of them. And those that you have got stronger on haven't been to a sufficient enough extent to, like I just said, drive the adaptation of accumulating an evident amount of new muscle tissue. Now the third reason as to why you've not made progress this year is specifically in regards to your nutrition. You've been eating well, you've been eating healthy, you've prioritized your protein consumption, but you've not been eating accurately enough to move towards the different goals you've needed to move towards within each of the phases throughout the year. So for example, you've not consistently been eating in a surplus during a push phase to drive that ascent up the scale to obviously add the body weight needed to drive the adaptation of accumulating new muscle tissue. And then in a dieting phase, you've not consistently been in a deficit to obviously linearly descend down the scale to allow yourself to get leaner. And because of these reasons, you've not rolled through the different phases of the process fast enough. So this year, for example, you may have only rolled through 1.5 to 2 phases, a push, and halfway through a diet, because each of the phases has taken you so long, as opposed to rolling through the whole of the roadmap, just like I outlined earlier on in the video. Now the fourth reason is because you've not prioritized your health sufficiently enough. You may have done the odd sauna, occasionally stretched from time to time, sank some electrolytes, taken some health supplements like vitamin C, vitamin D, a B complex, fish oil, most of which you don't need anyway. And as a result, you think you've prioritized health, but unfortunately, these aren't the big drivers of what is optimal human health. Focusing on things like grounding, blocking blue light at night, nervous system regulation practices, all of these things are huge drivers of health, and without those in routine, you're never going to be able to keep the body on side enough to the extent that you need to in order to, like I often say, drive that adaptation that you're after. And this is particularly important for you, being the ambitious, driven guy that you are. Comes with that mindset is a lot of internal stress, pressure, work demands, relationship stress. All of these things jack up the nervous system. So if you aren't doing these regulation-based practices, that nervous system stays jacked up, inflammation remains high, and subsequently you've got a pissed off body, and a pissed off body is an incredibly unresponsive body. So failing to prioritize health is absolutely a key reason as to why you've also not made progress this year. And the fifth and final reason as to why you've not made progress this year is because of, and this one might catch you by surprise, entitlement. You have moved with far too much entitlement throughout this year. You've had a hard day at work, all of a sudden that training session, that conditioning session's being skipped. You've had an argument with the missus, all of a sudden you're eating off plan. All of these little entitled decisions that you've made throughout the year have absolutely crushed your ability to make progress. They've well and truly derailed your discipline. And without a sufficient amount of discipline, no way are you ever going to be able to build an awesome rig. So these are the mistakes that you've made undoubtedly throughout this year that have hammered your ability to make progress. It's a painful situation, it sucks, but you've got to use it as fuel to make sure 2026 looks entirely different for you. Now, one way in which you can help yourself to confirm that to be a reality is by downloading my free guide in the bio, which is the first 30 days to help you build a masculine, awesome physique. The video goes into full detail around how you need to structure your programming, training, nutrition, health optimization advice, supplementation protocols. So like I said, you can take control of this situation to make sure you absolutely make the progress that you're after in 2026. Okay, fellas, appreciate you for watching. I will catch you in the next video.